does the resume really make a difference? You have your experience. Your employer can see that you've attended a great school. Maybe you had some career experience prior to law school. How important is your resume? The next slide, when you first take a look at it, on one side is one resume, on the right side is another resume. Take a look at those very quickly. See which one impresses you most, because you've probably all heard that your resume will get 2 or 3 seconds. And then they'll make a decision whether to continue with it. One on the left, one on the right. You guys see a difference? All right. Who thinks the one on the left looks better? All right. The one on the right clearly looks better. Why is that important? The paper really reflects your personality. And when an employer receives a resume, such as on the left, what that is telling them is they can't figure out how to write a resume. The one on the right hand, I know how to write a resume, and I care enough to take the time and energy to craft a really impressive resume. Very importantly, and I'm not making this stuff up. I see it all the time. I've been in placement now for over 22 years, and I see experienced attorneys. I do probably 99% of my placements are attorneys, but look at the resume on the left here. They don't even have contact information. They don't have a phone number or an email. I still see that with experienced attorneys. Notice on the left, all of it's the same font. There's no variation, so it's boring. It's not really professional looking. And we look at hundreds of resumes for one job. Think of someone in a law firm who's looking at resumes for 10 jobs. How many resumes they're going to see? This one has typos on it. The 19, the 15 aren't lined up like they are here. Here you have bold for education and experience, and caps. And for the schools, you have bold, just initial caps. So you have to vary it. On the resume on the right, dates are on the left-hand side. Over here on the left-hand resume, the don't really know resume, the dates are just right up against the job. And that's important because when it's a full sheet of paper, your resume needs to be balanced. If everything's over on the left-hand side, it is just not as professional looking as if it's balanced. So I really recommend that you put your dates on the right-hand side. Oh, sorry. Looks quickly. Also, the language that you're going to use, did legal research. The proper term is conducted legal research. You don't help with litigation, you support litigation. So you need to use the proper terms. How do you figure out what are the proper terms based on your experience? Go to LinkedIn. Do a search. If you want to do real estate, you can do a search for people who have real estate experience. Look at the terms they use. If you want to do environmental law, look at the terms that environmental attorneys have used in their careers. And also with formatting, and we will talk about developing a LinkedIn profile in the last session on networking. Everyone brought their resumes, right? You want to pull your resumes out and see how they compare with what's up here? Put your name in bold. Your address. I don't recommend you put your street address. It's not particularly safe, I think. And you really don't have to put your zip code in. As you know, if you use a credit card in a lot of gas stations, you have to put in your zip code. So your zip code should probably be private. Make sure you have your phone number in there. You don't need to put cell or home, just put probably your cell phone number. Most of you may not even have home phone numbers. Your email address should be a link. Is everyone's email address a link? You know how to do that? Okay. And the reason you want it to be a link is if they have your resume up on their screen, then all they have to do is click on your resume to say, when can you come in for an interview? Otherwise, if it's not a link, they have to copy it, pull up their email, paste it in, and then send it to you. You want to let them know you're going to make their life easy for them. So have your schools first. Dates on the right-hand side. When you're looking at your resume, look at things in categories. All right, look at education, and then all of your schools should be in bold. A comma after it, a space, then your degree, and then the field that it's in. And when you get down to your experience, your company name should be in bold, and then the geographic location, and then your date. I like seeing titles in italics, and I recommend that you really limit how much you put in italics in your resume. Italics is difficult to see, but if it's just a title, then it adds a little bit of spice to your resume, but not too much. I like bullet points instead of just run-on sentences. If you have different types of experience, say you have real estate and environmental experience, put it in categories. Under legal intern, put real estate, and then put bullet points about your real estate experience under that. Then put environmental, and put bullet points about your environmental experience under that. At your level, you may not have categories of experience from your prior positions, but if you do, break it down so that your prospective employer, can look very quickly at your resume and say, oh, they already have some environmental experience. Oh, they already have securities experience, without having to read all the bullet points, because you really do not get much time in front of an employer. Then for your second job, make sure that once again it is done exactly as the other one. This one, I didn't put the location there, just I didn't have enough space in shrinking it that way. But you always make sure that they're similar, or really the same. One thing I see wrong all the time are the hyphens. Make sure your hyphens are the same. Over here, you have one hyphen that way, one hyphen that way. And it just makes it look sloppy. A lot of people may not detect that it's hyphens are different, but they'll know that it's just not real pristine, not perfect. All right, has everyone had a chance to look through their entire resume? Any questions on your specific resume? Concerns? Okay. Yes?
I have a question actually. I noticed that on the bottom one, you didn't have a bullet point. When you only have 1 point, you don't,
If you have only 1 point, you're not supposed to use a bullet point.
Okay. I'm just wondering, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, you wouldn't put a number.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, I'm just running out of room where I would have.
Okay.
This is an illustration. You know, your resume needs to be more full than that, and we'll go over that. All right. So this is not meant to be a downer. The odds are against you in general, except for the fact that you are here today and you're going to learn a lot. And just the fact that you have come out today in the rain shows that you care and you're working hard. So you can defeat these odds. Only 2% of resumes are actually considered. That is in part due to the fact that the internet has made it so easy to send resumes that, you know, when I'm looking for a general counsel of a major corporation, I literally will receive resumes of people who are working at McDonald's. Yeah. But the odds are against you. There's one slot, and there typically will be hundreds of people applying for the position. When I receive a resume, I look at it. Why am I going to exclude this person? Because I can't interview hundreds of people for every single job. So I have to do it on their resume. And your job with your resume is to demonstrate why you should be included. And we'll go through some verbiage that you need to include in your resume through this session. And the resume really does reflect your personality. You know, if you think about your clothes reflect your personality, your resume reflects your personality. When I first started in this industry, I received a resume that was about 7 pages long. And I thought, this is ridiculous, but she's got great experience. So brought her in for an interview, and she did not know when to quit talking. You know, she could not separate the wheat from the chaff. And I see that time and time again when people have 3, 4, 5-page resumes. I don't care if they have 20 years experience. They cannot separate the wheat from the chaff. So you have to be able to do that. That's probably not an issue right now. It may be trying to make your resume a full page at this point, but your resume will reflect your personality. And you want it to be that you are a professional. And since it does reflect your personality, I highly recommend you create your own resume. Do not turn your resume over to a resume mill. They just strip the resume of your personality. And it tells me, and probably most employers, 2 things. One is you don't trust yourself to write your own resume. And you know, how's that going to come across? And 2, you're not confident enough to write your own resume. So take the time, the effort, write your own resume. There's a lot of advice on how to prepare your resume. Make sure you follow legal industry advice. Don't follow marketing, sales. It's completely different. The legal industry has a very high standard. I read an article the other day that said split infinitives are fine. They're not in the legal industry. So if your parents' friends work in one industry and it's not the legal industry, listen to their advice, but think twice about following it. You don't put colors on your resume. That's for marketing people. Most of this we've gone over. Highlight promotions, even if it's just in responsibilities, like if you worked in a summer job or you worked somewhere prior to law school. Indicate in your resume that you've had an increase in responsibilities, either over the summer or in a one-year job. That's very helpful. Provide facts, not conclusions. We'll cover this pretty extensively because it's very important. Don't say in your resume that you're a team player, that you are a good communicator. You need to demonstrate it with your words. Led a team of 3 professionals to create 9 contract templates. Give them metrics so that they will understand. Let them make the conclusion based on what you tell them that, oh wow, they're a great team player. Okay, include dates on your resume. Probably not an issue for you at this point, but include the months as well. Some people drop the months to try to hide the fact that there's a gap in their employment. But you don't want to have questions on your resume. If you have questions, then it may be set to the side, and then they may never come back to you. Put the months in there as well. Put the dates of your graduation. If you have typos, go to the recycle bin. And the law firm partners, the law firm recruiters look very carefully for typos. They're very picky about it because if you go to a law firm, you're going to be writing a lot. I reviewed this when I went over the two resumes. Make sure you use the proper tense. If it's a prior job, use the past tense. If you're currently doing something, interning somewhere, make sure you use the present tense. I see that mistake all the time. Okay, so I used to be a litigator, and one thing I learned in litigation is you don't tell a jury that this person is innocent. You demonstrate the facts to show that. Suppose you tell the jury, my client is a really good guy. He's very much a team player. He's a great communicator. He really helps people. Okay, that's all great. But what if you told them, for the past 12 years, my client has worked in the DC public schools, helping students learn how to read and excel in school, helping to assist over 120 students graduate from high school. Someone offered him a job making 10 times what he would have now, but he turned it down because he believes in what he's doing. You know, which one paints a better picture? The one with the facts where you say, wow, that's a really good guy. All of this list of words, team player, they're wasted words on your resume. You have one page to fill your resume, and these wasted. That's your opinion. Let them form that opinion. I actually did see a resume that had unyielding integrity on it, and you never want to come across as being unyielding. You know, high integrity is one thing, but unyielding integrity could just be difficult to get along with. I'm not at any means trying to downplay integrity, but just be careful about what's in your resume. So if you have a resume that you have a lot of experience, you have real estate, you have environmental, you have securities, you have M&A experience, but this job only requires securities experience. You can create a base resume with everything in it. And then if it's not required in that job and you need to expound on your securities experience, take those other irrelevant modules out and just add to your securities experience. And that's what I mean by create a base resume with modules that you can move in and out. Okay, that's my dog. He found his dream position. But now let's see what happens when you find your dream position. So first thing you do is really research this employer. Anyone that you're going to be meeting with really loves their job, or they love what they're doing. They want to bring in someone who's going to help them. They want to bring in someone who cares about that organization as much as you do. So research them, find out what they do, find out what their mission statement is, and modify your resume for each position. Do not just send in one resume for each position for the same, the same resume for each company. You need to modify it. Emphasize what's relevant, but please don't exaggerate. When you send your resume in, firms do it differently. Some will take a look at it right away. Others will just keep it in their system and later do a search. If you don't have the relevant words in your resume, then your resume is not going to come up. And it gets a little tricky because suppose you have trial experience. You need to make sure that you have trial and litigation or litigate in your resume, because if they search trial and you only have litigate in your resume, it's not going to come up. Sometimes they're not real thorough when they're searching for resumes. Same applies with LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a little bit easier because it's not as restricted in how much space you can take up. Before you send your resume, ask any colleagues that you know who know about this organization. What do they know about it? Where do they hire their laterals from? You know, where do they hire their law students from? I'm going to come back to that one in a second. And you will need a cover letter. Sometimes you can't add a cover letter. If you can't add a cover letter, obviously don't. If you can include a cover letter, do so. Find out who you should send it to. If there's not a named person, search their website to find out who is the recruiter for law students. Make your cover letter very short, and it should not just be a recitation of your resume. Find out what the firm does, where they're located, and explain. First paragraph should be an introduction. Hi, I am looking for positions in the Washington, D.C. area. Second paragraph, I'd very much enjoy working with ABC firm because, and then why. Is that because you have experience in the areas they want to work in, or that they have practices? Figure out why you would want to work there. And if you talk with colleagues, look at Glassdoor, you look at their website, look at what clients they represent. You'll be able to figure out why you would want to work there. Or if you don't want to work there, don't apply. Don't waste your energy applying. Make sure you keep track of where you send each resume. Best way to do that is when you modify your resume, create a folder with that firm or company organization's name and drop that resume into that folder. Don't have ABC Law Firm as the name of your resume, because then they will see that, they will know that you've modified it, and it's just a little bit too cheesy. So keep it last name, first name for your resume, and keep it in a separate folder for that potential employer. Because when you do get an interview with them, you want to be able to bring that same resume with you. And once you do get, and you put the cover letter in there as well. And once you do get the interview with that firm or corporation, you want to be able to put any other information in that folder also. You have to really be careful to keep up with the communication. In your cover letter, you really do need to be passionate about your interest with them. Steve Jobs, the only way to do great work is to love what you do. And I'm sure you guys have heard that that is important. Here's Steve Jobs and so many other huge figures who believe that. And he certainly was successful. He probably loved what he did. Is anyone planning to relocate? All right. If you want to relocate, then explain why you want to relocate. If you're applying to positions outside the DC area, you explain why they should interview you, and you get that information from talking with colleagues and all the research you've done. And your final paragraph in the cover letter should be asking for an interview, asking to come in and meet that person and their colleagues. Always double, triple check your cover letter. Typos, again, will ruin it. Do you know there's rules on when you use the word which and when you use the word that? Figure out which word you should use, because if a partner is looking at your cover letter, he or she may or may not know it. But if they do and they see an error, it could jettison your chances there. Make sure you know the rules around semicolon versus a comma. If you have a possessive, and I see this very often, if you have an ing form of the word, use a possessive before it. I appreciate you taking the time to help. I appreciate your taking the time to help. Let me go back to the follow-up. Use LinkedIn, and in the networking phase, you can talk more about LinkedIn and building your profile on LinkedIn and all of your connections on LinkedIn. But use LinkedIn to find connections. You can consider, and I'm not sure if your schools have rules on this, mailing or emailing a resume to a partner or a general counsel, the executive director of an organization, saying something along the lines of what I have on the board up here. But always follow the instructions on posting. If they tell you don't call, don't call. If they don't tell you not to call, then call. You need to find some way to make yourself stand out. So I want you to think about this. I know it's tough, but my first day of law school, the professor said something to the effect of, I'll have to change it, but law is a jealous partner. Law wants all of your time, and whatever grades you make in law will last a lifetime. Some corporations, some law firms are not as concerned about grades as others, but some law firms, if you have 10 million in business, they will not hire you if you didn't do well in law school. So they will last a lifetime. And law school is only 3 years of your life, and you guys will probably live to be 90, 100 years old. So you're going to be working in your new career for 40 years at least. So give it all you have. I strongly suggest while you're in law school. Instead of maybe watching TV, going out, devote time to strengthening your resume. And by that, I mean volunteering at organizations that interest you. And volunteering and just studying so that you can get good grades. But volunteering is very, very important. I've had people get jobs that they would not otherwise have been considered for just because they volunteered somewhere and got some really good experience. One in particular happened early on was they needed someone, they were looking for someone who had been in a big firm but had first chair experience. And that's almost an impossibility to work in a big firm and get first chair litigation experience. Well, she volunteered in the pro bono program. And so she got first chair experience and she got the job. Law school is not the time to party. Instead of partying, go to events. Go to the DC bar events and take a break that way. And, obviously sometimes you need to let off steam, but you can get out and enjoy yourself and at the same time strengthen your resume.